have these thoughts. Everybody does. And of course, the number one, just kind of like they say, like, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Don't believe everything that comes into your mind. It's like, you're going to believe all of them. They're not all good ideas, and that's okay.
Because, I mean, how many times do you think stupid thoughts?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. But you don't commit them.
Right.
You don't commit them. They was asking a question like, hey, let's say, for example, we're going to give you $1 billion right now and let your whole family watch your entire life and every thought you ever thought about. Would you take that money?
It's a hard bargain.
It's hard. It's a very hard bargain. Someone in the comment section was like, now I'll take the money and then I know they would leave me.
And that's fine. I would still have the money.
Morty.
Limits don't exist till we put them there.
Nobody warns you about this part. Everybody claps for you when you want to level up. But the moment you actually change, something shifts. Conversations feel different. Rooms feel small. People feels distant. So the real question is growth actually lonely? Or is loneliness just the cost of becoming who you say you wanted to be? So Harrison, what is your experience with that? Have you felt that shift at all in your life?
Absolutely. I think that you learn as you try to continue to grow, and the key word there is try, because there's a lot of times you try to put your foot in the right direction and it doesn't always go the way that you want. So you end up falling back or taking 2 steps back instead. But I think the one thing that I've learned is always necessary to sacrifice. As far as to grow is to sacrifice something else. Like, you can't have your cake and or you bake your cake and eat it too, right? And so you have to make decisions that, if you're going to pursue a certain lifestyle and expect to keep it, there are things that are not able to exist in that same domain.
So an overarching overview of your life is normally depending upon the position to which you want to go. So you have a set of purpose that you want. But let's say, for example, there is a scenario to where you have 5 friends. Usually most people have about 5 friends that influence you dramatically to the point where your perceptions is tilted towards based on those 5 friends. You guys do the same thing on a Friday night. Let's say maybe you guys go and to a casino. Let's say casino. But you decide that you need to change that habit so that you can maybe go to the gym on Friday night instead of going to the casino. Every time you meet with that group of friends, when you talk, your conversation will be limited because you won't relate to each other the way you used to, because now you're doing something else and they're doing something else. So that's the part where I think loneliness is in terms of growth. What do you think?
I think that's very introspective. I think that you're absolutely right. And the whole idea of like the 5 people that you're around the most kind of accumulate who you are. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you feel stuck or not making the progress that you want, it's pretty easy to relate back to why. And a lot of that coming down to maybe some of the decisions you're making, or if you were allowing yourself, and even allowing yourself and your friends to go through and do things. Let's say going to the casino.
Yeah.
You're going through and doing it on a consistent basis. You guys obviously have a great time, which is why you do it. It's blowing off steam, enjoy the love of the game, or maybe the atmosphere. And of course, it's just like one example of like really anything you could relate back to. Stuff that is not the objective pursuit of something. So like working out was the one that you'd given, which has a very like give and take return. Like, you know exactly what you're getting out of it based on what you put into it. And number one, like just going in general is a lot better than not going at all. So I think that what I've realized, at least with some of my friendships, and it's been interesting, it's been very a fortunate thing with my life, and I'm sure you would agree as well, where I've had lots of people that have been with me for quite literally decades at this point, that I still am around and see on a consistent basis, but others that I thought would be there that are no longer. And I think it comes down to like one like common theme, at least in my opinion, and that's the vision. And so I think we use like there's a lot of terms you could use otherwise, like even like you'd say goals, objectives, whatever you're pursuing. At the end of the day, I think that it's bigger than that. It's not, you know, there's a point in my life where I was trying to hit certain goals in swimming. And at the end of the day, it was never about hitting that time. It was like the pursuit of achieving, you know, a goal that we'd set out to go through and try to hit. So I think now in this adult life, it's still kind of the same like core belief of being able to pursue something bigger than yourself, and just having that mindset to be a vision follower. So I agree with you to where if you have people in your life that are continuously not aligning with your vision, you're only putting yourself in a situation to stay at that level.
That's the key, I think, in terms of understanding the intricacy of the lonely road when it comes to growth. So let's establish the roadmap to purpose and meaning. So I think the basis to where everybody usually interact with other people is the common ground. Like you say, there's something in exchange. There's some, I don't want to sound too transactional, but there's an exchange rate. You are providing something to me that has some level of gratifications that I receive from your presence, in relate to me also giving you something of an equal value. And to some instances, it could be less, but it is of value to you, to where you are willing to stay. The moment that I stop doing that, and you don't have any obligations to stay, but that doesn't translate well with me, because your elevation would most likely confront my comfort to my current level. So we can start off with the roadmap of meaning, right? You said something from the last podcast that I wanted to actually delve into, and that is purpose, in terms of defining your own purpose. Just give me some thoughts, and what your thoughts around that, and what you think.
As far as, and you mean for like what I've determined my purpose?
Like your purpose, yeah.
It's a good question. And I think kind of like I was just even saying earlier, it comes down to like a foundation, something that is at your root. And like, if you're looking at it subjectively, it's, if you're going to build a house, there's no good house that's ever been built without a good foundation. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a situation where the cards that I was dealt to have more opportunity to pursue those environments that I think have put me who I am now and where I am now. So I think as far as my purpose, it's actually something I've thought about since I was a kid. Like going to mass and like things that I was like really trying to articulate to like what I wanted out of life, especially in a day and age where I definitely felt this way, and I know a lot of others as well. It's at the end of the day, we have it much better than, you know, our parents did and their parents, and of course, hopefully someday be able to pass on the same to my kids. But nonetheless, it's to be the best person that I can be, but the term I use is man. Best man that I can be, of spirit, mind, and body. And that's not going to take like one form. There's not like one thing. There's not one career. There's not a certain group of people that I think that I can put myself around that will guarantee the success of that vision. But I think it's continuing to put yourself in rooms that you are uncomfortable. It's not always going to be the same group of people. Like those like these examples of like friendships and that loneliness, I think, does come from taking that step into be in situations or just environments that you're around people that you don't know, but you make the attempt to learn those people and see where it goes. And you find out not everybody you meet that you think is going to be somebody that you want to be around is actually worth being around. And that's just natural. And it's vice versa as well.
So starting with the 5 friends, and you have an epiphany. You understand the roadmap of where you want to be in life, and at the end of the life, where you want to go, and you understand your purpose, which is, you know, like what you said, in alignment with your mental, physical, and spiritual, which is an interesting way of putting it. once you come to that epiphany and you understand the roadmap, what will normally happen, like, we kind of like articulated, was that there will be a detachment from your current friends because the language that you're communicating in is different from the language they are communicating in, right? And the transition, as what you say, is the in between the current state to which you are in and the newer state. So you have to now create friends who are in that state, like you say, like the uncomfortable room. I'm kind of like trying to decode everything you said in a simple linguistic storyline. So you leave your current friendship, you're now here, and you're trying to transition to this type of group of people, and that's the lonely road. Is that kind of like depict the picture to which you were trying to articulate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of it as well, because I was mentioning earlier that there are some people you think they're going to be there. And even like the friends that I have now, I'm sure that you have as well, that you couldn't foresee them not being in your life. But unfortunately, at least a couple of them won't be in 5, 10, 20 years. Of course, you want that to be the case, but I think it comes down to like that bond specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because for me, as far as friendship, I think the number one thing for me is that attachment, is that connection. There are people that I've been around for a long time because I know that they care deeply about me the way that I care deeply about them. Mm-hmm. And even though that maybe they're in like a different point in their life or have different goals and a different vision than me, I can still take part of that and incorporate it into my vision, even though they don't necessarily match. I think at that point, like I see a lot of people trying to put themselves in those situations thinking that that's the right answer. However, I think that they shoot themselves in the foot by not allowing themselves to diversify with different groups of people from all different walks of life, like specifically in like this conversation, growth. And so, I mean, I've been around plenty of people that have no intention to want to grow. They like who they are and the life they're living. I enjoy being around those people, but for me, it's more of like a situational type thing. It's not an everyday, and certainly not something that I'm always like seeking out. It's something that kind of comes into the picture organically. But no, I mean, going even further, like that whole point of like loneliness and growth, because I think that there are things that even my friends do very well that I don't, that I want to. And I know that those feelings are vice versa. There are things that I do very well that they don't. And so it's kind of being able to like bring each other up. I think, again, like these core things, it's not about like who you are. It's like the intention of trying to be better than what you are now. And like for me, if I see that in you, like I feel like my intuition is very keen in that regard, to where I know how to go through and find those people, or at least notice when I see it in somebody. So I've been very fortunate. Be surrounded by numerous people that I think kind of share that same value. And although it is lonely, because you still have to make those decisions for yourself, even if you were put in, let's just say like hypothetically, I don't know if you heard about, I don't know, as far as like Elon Musk, there was a point where he was living with like 20 guys or something in a house, but like that same house made Venmo and PayPal,
Google,
and yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about like these think tanks, quite literally. So I think like this day and age, people think like, oh, that's what we need to do. Not necessarily. And even then, like those people also had to make those individual efforts to accomplish what they did. But being able to have like a resource of intellect definitely goes a long way.
They had something in common, and I think that was the kind of like when you think about like the collective consciousness, right? It's like
the hive mind.
The hive mind, yeah. But it's in sync to the desire of wanting to grow and elevate. Yeah. Because I think humans intrinsically want to be better than where they were yesterday. Intrinsically, humans want to be better. Like you want to grow, you know? And so one thing you said, I want to ask the question is, with the current friends of people that you have and you elevate, you have a new set of mindset, a new set of belief. And with that, you can kind of feel your vision in their vision so that you can still keep them. Is that the same as growing with them or just tolerating them?
It's a great question. I think that naturally, like kind of whatever friend group you find yourself in, there are going to be things that about a friend that you must tolerate. And I do think that with like even like some of my friends and people I've gotten to know, to where like there are certain things that maybe I don't necessarily want to add to my arsenal, but on the same token, I still appreciate about somebody because it makes them about kind of who they are as well. As far as like the question of like growth, because I think what you're insinuating as well is like that toleration is ignorance of sacrifice. It's that like if I want to take that next level, I am tolerating this. However, I am ignoring the fact that to go to that next level, I must sacrifice those situations or maybe those people in order to get where I want to go.
That's a tough question.
It's a tough question because it makes you really think to your core. It's like, well, I don't want to give up my friend just because they have a certain habit. But it really just depends on, I think at that point as well, if they're making it a problem. Like if it's a must that you must be involved with that as well in order for the friendship to continue.
So the difficult thing, like I think with the early quote, is that you all have agreed that was the common ground in how you participate and have relationship with one another. And that agreement becomes or feel as if you have betrayed them once you have moved away from that. So like in that same scenario, you guys are going to the casino every Friday night and you decided to, not spend too much money because maybe your wife is yelling at you or you realize that you're getting in debt or something like that and you don't want to live that lifestyle anymore. So you replace that with going to the gym. If you agree that going to the casino on Friday night with your friends is something that you guys are gonna do, they'll feel betrayed by you not doing that. Now they might clap for you, saying, "Hey, this is a great thing you're doing. I wanted to do that too." And most of them will say the same thing. I wanted to do that too. I wanted to stop this. But you now have found these new found motivations, willpower, and the ability to escape from that. And this is where the part where you start by ignorant that I think is very important, is that if you don't, you are here, they're here. And if you don't constantly strive to go up, you will eventually be pulled down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then at that point it's too late, and then you might resent them, which I thought about as well. And I think we talked about this before as well. I think that my truest friends, of course, I have friends I see quite literally every single day, but there's some that I don't, and that is most of the time because of certain endeavors they're pursuing. But my truest friends are those people that I haven't seen, let's say a year, 2, 3 years, but we've had those connections, those important things we've gone through life together with, to where I could be another 5 and I could see them tomorrow or at that point, and it's like yesterday. And as long as like that connection's still there, then I think that's like what I consider like true friendship. Because I think at one point or another, like for example, I live with 3 of my best friends, and there will be a point where that will come to an end because of new endeavors. We can't live together forever, and so like there'll be a point where hopefully we all are pursuing lives with our future, significant others, hopefully incorporating bigger ventures into the picture, whether it's within your career or and other things in your life. Like there are things that one point or another you're gonna have to sacrifice. Like one of my closest friends, we used to live together, and but now we don't, and I only get to see him maybe once a week, maybe once every couple weeks. And at the same time, like it's never feeling like he or I am doing the wrong thing by not seeing better communication. It's always very organic when we get together and like have discussions and catch up on, current events and how things are going. But nonetheless, to answer your question, I think that that loneliness, I think, is a byproduct of that vision. And like again, that sacrifice doesn't feel so much like sacrifice, And that's where it's like you look at like drug addicts or alcoholics, and they're trying to move towards a point where they don't identify with that anymore. They're no longer, that's not part of their identity. And that's the struggle that comes with being able to get to a point where you feel detached from a habit that at one point was a part of your everyday life. And I think objectively speaking, that seems like more of a sacrifice, or if you're like on a diet, or if you are just again, like changing something about your life that is going to change your day-to-day drastically. Like that, I think more kind of constitutes sacrifice, to where if you do have a vision and you would do anything to achieve it, then it doesn't feel so much like a sacrifice. Like I remember when I was a freshman in college, and I was in engineering at the time, and my summer I was coaching in the mornings. I was going straight to work for 8 hours. And then on my breaks, I would coach in the mornings. I'd go to Calculus 2, and then I go to work, and I get off of work at like 10, and I do this, all over again the same day.
It's crazy.
Next day. And, but at the time, I didn't feel that pressure. It felt natural. It felt like I was what I was supposed to be doing. And so I was able to go through and enjoy the summer with coaching and, make some money to go through and pay off student loans. And in between all that, still accomplished like one of my hardest courses in my college career. And I look back on those days and like really think about, like, obviously didn't have the opportunity to be around people all the time, but that's where when you are around people, like you make the most out of it. It's like, I think some people get wrapped up in, I need to be living this certain lifestyle with my friends or with people every single day. It's like, no, I think there's definitely a sense of separation, or I can't remember the exact phrase, but separation makes the heart grow fonder. And so like being able to see those people on a more consistent basis definitely gives a lot of fulfillment when you get to see them.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit. However, I don't know. I think just like loneliness in general is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, right now, there are times where I feel very lonely. And sometimes I'm sad about that. But sometimes there are points where I feel very happy, very fulfilled, like I am kind of on my vision quest, if you will.
The feeling of pursuing meaning and purpose, would that override the feeling of being lonely?
It's a great question. And that's what I was kind of saying too. It's like sometimes yes. And I think as you can kind of continue to grow on that vision, it makes it a lot easier to really believe in that pursuit of happiness, which the key word is pursuit. Not the achievement of happiness, not the actual feeling, but the actual like pursuit of it. Whether it's going to the gym, or you're working on different things in or outside of your career, or just more personal stuff, whether that's in faith or family, or relationships with your friends. That the whole, we talk about like the grind, which kind of gets overused. That word grind gets overused a lot, but there's a reason, and that's because like being able to be in the moment, working for something that is taking maybe months, years to try and work towards, that whole feeling. I think that there's a lot of times you can find a lot of solace in just the simple pursuit.
And I think people sometimes forget that the feeling of loneliness is sometimes momentary when you are in the pursuit of your dream or a meaningful life. Mainly because purely the pursuit of happiness itself will not guarantee happiness.
Right.
But there is a byproduct as a resultant effect of pursuing meaning that will somehow give you happiness once you have attained that meaning before.
We talk about a lot about instant gratification. I think we live in a world of it. I quite literally have in my back pocket the most powerful device ever given to humans. And so I can find out anything or, you know, in a moment, be able to find out what I need to find out about anything.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, is that the right word? It absolutely is. You can go through anything you're looking for, be able to, like a click of a button, you know, get the answer. And what, you know, I'm sure you've experienced as well. The most satisfying moments that I've had in my life have come from something that I've been working towards for months, years at a time. 100%.
Yeah.
And so it's unfortunate, I think our generation, and it's not stopping anytime soon, have like really gravitated towards the sense of instant gratification being gratification, period. Absolutely not. And like the whole like dopamine that we try to take from this is it's overstimulating. It's the point where it makes things feel less exciting than they should be. You see a lot of people that aren't happy with what they've achieved. They maybe feel relieved rather than proud, which, you know, especially in situations that are difficult, whether it's in sports or a career, like you need to take a moment to celebrate. Like it's, I think, a really important part of life people do not take advantage of in the right way.
There's something that Aga said from the last episode, and I think is very prevalent, is that you have to understand and celebrate those moments, those small moments, and be grateful to yourself. And I think that because you are seeing a life perfectly curated by social media, and you take that life that is being perfectly curated by social media, try to compare your life with that. And most people, the gateway that allow them to feel depressed, anxiety, and suicidal, or even all this feeling of inadequacy, is usually derived from access to that cell phone, where it's an instant gratification to which it's enhance your dopamine. But when you actually do something that is worthwhile achieving, even a small things, it doesn't weight, it doesn't have any value to the perceived, you know, goal that is only being captured by the perfectly curated social media life form of people that you never met. So it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to even assess where you are in life and how far you should go and how much you should work and how much you should put in to get to where you need to be, if you are constantly comparing yourself with someone else's life on social media that you never met, and you don't know if they are actually consistent with what they're doing, and you don't know if they are preaching what they're saying. It's really difficult. So I think the lonely road is not just a, I don't think we can safely say that we don't want friends. No, we do want friends. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that's the thing. Is that there are moments in our life where it's necessary to have that moment of isolation in order for you to figure out who you are and what you need to do with your life.
Adversity is a privilege. And that, I think, is kind of like, in essence, kind of what you're trying to say. And I think as well, I mean, like, again, we look at friendships, and I agree with you. I think we were both in agreement. So, like, of course, in an ideal world, like, your 5 best friends are all, like, highly motivated, high octane, share that same energy. That it is the, you know, the Google house, or however you want to call it. It's the house of...
Hey, but they're not together anymore.
That's true. That's true. Again, in a perfect world, that's what it is. But, and again, I think for me, what I've really gravitated towards is, at the end of the day, it's people that care about one another, specifically that care about you. And I will say that if you don't feel that way about them, then you are doing them a disservice. It's like at that point, like, you are just kind of taking what they're giving you and utilizing it for yourself, rather than actually going through and being able to reciprocate. You said this earlier. It's like the equivalent exchange. Like as objective as that sounds, like it is just simple human nature. It's that I get something out of being around you, and as do you. Whether it is just as simple as a friendly presence, or it's knowledge, or conversation, or knowing that they will go through and do certain things with you, whether it's the casino or the gym. But friendship, I don't think should be defined on like in one way, and like you should have multiple different types of friends. Like I've heard about like the joke. It's like, oh, I had a conversation with friend group A that I usually only have with friend group B.
Yes. That's very. It's crazy how, notice how you as a person is multiple people to different people. Like the way you are to me is different than the way you are to your mom. And the way you are to your mom is different than the way you are to your dad. Similar to vice versa to your sister, siblings, or other people. You are multiple people to different people.
Yes.
And also, another thing, what about room for negotiation? So, in that scenario of the casino, I don't know if this is a good scenario of the casino, but I think it's a pretty good one. 5 friends. Hey, I'll do it once a month. If you guys can also do it once a month, to come to the gym with me.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
It's a trade-off. But how much of that would have an impact in you to attain your goal? I think that's the question. See how everything just becomes so transactional. It's like you really have to understand exactly what you need to do step by step in order for you to get to where you need to go, so that then you can act according to what you have discovered. So there's a quote from Carl Jung that said this, right? People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And when I think about the soul, I think about the mind, the emotions. The soul is composed of 3 things: the mind, the will, and the emotion. People are willing to do anything to avoid coming face to face with their own soul. And sometimes when you are changing, right, when you are confronting the soul or confronting yourself, you're not just improving, you're like kind of like holding up a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look. So what do you think about that quote? Because I think it's a very powerful quote. Carl Jung said people would do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And when I think about the soul, like I say, emotion, will, and the mind.
I think about one thing, like specifically, and that's distraction. And I think that, for example, like even like for me, it's like I have my own like things that I deal with, like specifically like depression. It's something that I've dealt with in my life, just like something that's hereditary. So it's one of those things that my whole goal is that I understand that I'm in a car and there are others in the car. You have depression, anxiety, and then maybe what else you're dealing with, but you have to be the one driving. And it's like they're still in the car. There's nothing you can do about it. But at the end of the day, you have the control. And I think it's even the snap of a finger, as far as like letting that control be given to somebody else in, said car. And so at that point, you have to continue to work on being able to recognize that and take control back. Otherwise, you're going, like for me at least, when I have situations occur, I start to spiral. And that meaning just like something happens, and then if I allow myself to not take the control back, all of a sudden there's more things that I continue to let happen that at the end of the day put me in a situation where I'm realizing that, I'm having a hard time. But it really comes down to not recognizing that soon enough and taking back that control. So anyway, as far as, like said, distraction, I think it's easy to give in to that because there's a lot more comfortability with being distracted rather than like addressing the elephant in the room. Looking in the mirror, kind of like you said. And so I think that even for me, it's like the more busy I can stay, the easier it is to ignore those thoughts. Even if I am doing the right things, even if I'm getting up, eating right, I'm going to work, I'm performing my highest capability, I'm working out, I'm doing all these things that I have told myself I need to do. But there are still things that if you don't take the time to address, and that's why I think, again, I was saying this earlier, between being the best man that I can be spiritually, mentally, and physically. There's a reason why I give you the order that I give you. Spiritually is number one. Why? It's like not just like this devotion to faith. It is, but it's also like for you up here, be able to know that your soul is in said right place. But that requires intention and time as well. Just like going to the gym, just like taking care of your hygiene, like all these things require time. You have to put that time into that as well. I'm a big believer in that. Whether, you like whatever you believe in at the end of the day. Like to me, like even as a Christian, as a Catholic, obviously I have like certain values that I have my foundation. I don't, at the end of the day, I think the whole pursuit is in faith. It's having the belief in something that you can't see. And we've talked about this before. But that's one of like the things that I love thinking about, to be honest, because it's hard. It's hard to think about. And that's where like people who don't have that background have a really hard time understanding. Just they don't have enough practice. And so that's where I think it's like sincerely, it's like you have to take time in that part of yourself. It's not it's not working out, it's not like reading, it's not doing these things. It's like quite literally like taking the time to focus on like just kind of doing a debrief with kind of where you're at right now.
Debrief is a good word.
Right. And there's just like anything else, there is such thing as too much, in my opinion. I think if you continue to overanalyze yourself, you just kind of put yourself in the doldrums, as one of my old swim coaches used to call it. It's like you're caught in this, essentially like this whirlpool. You're not going anywhere.
It's an infinite loop of constantly contemplating and
self-loathing,
thinking, self-loathing. Because when you look at the abyss of your own inadequacy, you'll find that there are so many things that you need to work on. Jordan Peterson put it this very perfectly. He said, sit in a room quietly and ask yourself a question. Don't put any distraction and just ask yourself a question. You'll find out the answer to that question. And when you find out, you'll be frightened by it, because then you have to do it. And in most instances, finding that moment where in the busyness of life, you can actually say, let me step back and think and have that moment, quiet place. So I was decoding a verse in scripture. I think it was 2 Corinthians chapter 10, I believe, and say putting down stronghold, right? And imaginations that go against, the mind of Christ. Basically, like, we do not walk according to the flesh. We walk in the flesh, but we do not war. We don't fight according to the flesh. Meaning that there is a spiritual, which is the beginning, where all the information that is being communicated to you by the deep consciousness, using a psychological terms, the deep consciousness is communicating to you. And that is the truth, kind of like the collective consciousness. Spiritually speaking, the spirit is the realm which connects you with God. It's the only realm that connects you with God. So God is communicating to you within that realm. It's the reason why, if you look at study history, one of the collective consciousness which everybody comes to and agree with every society is that there is always a desire or a quest to know the meaning of life or God. That itself has some form of intrinsic value that is reside within us from the deep consciousness, right? So there's the spirit, and then there is the soul, which is, the what was the word that you use for the soul? Because you say if there's a spirit, there's a soul, and there's the body. But you say physical, mental. You say mental. Yeah, you say mentally. So the mentally, right? It's kind of like the same thing with the soul part. So there's a spirit, there's a mental, which I use the soul because the soul is very simple to explain because you're expressing it by three terminology. Like I say, emotion, will, and mind. And that deep consciousness, the spirit of the spirit realm is communicating to you and is talking to you, but your mind needs to interpret what the spirit is saying. And the only way you can interpret what the spirit is saying is by understanding the patterns of the spirit, which is, reading the Bible or studying yourself. So if you study yourself, and let's say, for example, put an example saying, if you study yourself and you're driving a car and the thoughts come to you and say, I'm worthless. That's the thought that is presented to you from the world, like, the flesh or your inadequacy, your actions, the life that you're living. You just come to a thought is being presented to you. I'm worthless. But the truth of what the deep consciousness is communicating, and I'm interchanging between the two so I can have both the psychological and the spiritual comprehension, is that based on the understanding of what God said about a human being is that he created them in the image of God. And you are wonderful and fearfully made. Wonderful and fearfully made by God. So if you can replace the thought of worthless with the thought of I'm created in the image of God, you're automatically shifting your perceptions to understand who you are as a human being. And then you'll be able to act that in the flesh. So now you will be acting with confidence. Now, the flesh is a byproduct of what is happening in your mind. That's kind of like how I was taking it. But yeah, what do you?
Very well said. And I actually have a question for you as well. But first, no, I fully agree. I think, and that's kind of what I was kind of trying to articulate earlier. It's that you have these thoughts. Everybody does. And of course, well, number one, just kind of like they say, like, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Don't believe everything that comes into your mind. I think that, I don't know the number, it's a ridiculous number, but the human mind has like tens of thousands of thoughts a day. It's something crazy. I don't know the exact number, but you have a lot of thoughts. Like, you're going to believe all of them. They're not all good ideas, and that's okay. It's the amazing part about the human brain is that it's constantly going. But kind of like I was saying earlier, I think that recognition, that awareness that you realize, like, wait a second, and you take a step back, the things I'm thinking right now are not in line with what I'm trying to do. And also, if you really have the intention of want to be better, that is a very important piece of the puzzle, I think, is being able to recognize, like, when you're having those thoughts and stopping it, shutting it down. At least for me, especially, because where I have those thoughts, then there's the next one, and then the next one, and all of a sudden you've had a few of those thoughts in a row, and all of a sudden you're in a bad mindset, you're in a bad mood, especially in the morning. I mean, it's another thing too. It's like if you get up and you allow yourself to have those thoughts early, you're setting yourself up for a bad day, and you wonder why. It's like it's at the end of the day your decision. Mm-hmm. So it's just as much as to, like, go through and, like, really fight against that. And I know it's like, obviously it's not that simple. However, if you're not doing anything to try and pull yourself out of it, then what do you expect? But I was curious, and I think that kind of relates to, like, kind of what you were saying as well. It's like, it kind of really, like, addressing the soul. It's like quite literally, going into your mind and searching for the place, like, where this is coming from. But, like, more specifically, you were referencing the soul and, like, being able to put yourself in that room in your heart, being able to communicate with God. Like, do you think, like, that you've had experience, like, like, if we were to, like, finish talking right now, you could go through and you could sit in a room and be able to put yourself in that space? Like, what does it require for you to put yourself in that space?
That's a great question. I've done a lot in terms of consistently putting myself in that situation where I can hear what God is saying. And so it becomes easier the more, because now you understand patterns. But I was giving a scenario to the people that I was talking to. And I say that if, let's say, there is 3 of us here, and we are all praying to God. And one of us know the Bible and understand how God function or God operate. And all three of us are praying. One of us is getting an inspiration and say, I hear from God. And that's the thought being introduced to you. And what I hear from God is say, we should go and steal that TV. That's what I heard from God. Now, I don't know the Bible, but I heard that from God. That's what the thoughts presented to me. You know the Bible. Out of all three of us, you know the Bible. You are aware of how God talk. One of the scripture that said that God does not lie, meaning that whatever he say have to be consistent with the way he speak. And one of the things that he say was that you should not steal. So if I claim that God speak through me and what I say does not consist with what he said, based on what we know as God to be, then I'm the one who's lying. Or that thought, it's not that I'm lying, it's that thought is not from God. It's from someone else. So the first thing is to recognize and understand how this whole thing. That's why I was saying, like, the first thing you have to understand, you have to be aware of who you are. You have to be aware of yourself. You have to know who yourself first. Once you know yourself, when you go into that deep room and you hear something, you are most likely going to commit an error if the scope of your knowledge is limited. But if your scope of your knowledge is pretty, well defined, then it's easy for you. Because, I mean, how many times do you think stupid thoughts?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, but you don't commit them.
Right.
You don't commit them. They was asking a question like, hey, let's say, for example, we're going to give you $1 billion right now and let your whole family watch your entire life and every thought you ever thought about. Would you take that money?
It's a hard bargain.
It's hard. It's a very hard bargain. Someone in the comment section was like, now I'll take the money and then I know they would leave me.
And that's fine.
And that's fine.
I would still have the money.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very important to understand that there's thoughts that we have, and those thoughts are not literally what we want.
No.
So, I think what has been working for me is reading a lot and understanding who I am and understanding God. The more I understand God, the more I read a lot, the more I understand who I am, the more it's easy for me to get an inspiration that can align with that, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess for you and like you're reading, of course, I mean, yes, there's always like reading the Bible or maybe reading stuff that's like specific to like religion or faith. But I guess as far as like what you read outside of that, like what do you read as far as fiction? Do you read any fiction?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Interesting. I thought you were gonna say that too.
I am reading Digital Minimalism.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think that's the funny thing. I think even some of the greatest philosophers or even scientists throughout history, I mean, I think like they're some of their biggest inspirations have come from not actually studying what they're trying to solve. Like specifically, I think it was like Einstein or I don't know how to say if it was exactly Einstein, but he was a great scientist. But anyway, like he went out of his way to go through and work in different restaurants and like different positions where it's like, why are they doing that? It's essentially just being able to put themselves in different situations to maybe curate something that they hadn't been able to go through and do before.
I think it's the methodology. Like they understand the pattern of methodology on how something is being processed, different to what their current objection is. But you can find similar to it based on the methodology. And then when you go into that realms of endeavor, you can kind of pick something that is outside of your current field that could bring you an inspiration to your own field.
And that's where I think like having that curiosity.
Yes.
I would say like in essence, that's what I am. I'm curious. And like to consider myself somebody that like seeks adventure, but I think that comes from that core of curiosity. I think it's important to like do things you've never done before, right? It's like new experiences, whether that's with your friends or family or people you've never been around, or if it's by yourself, or whether it's a new game or a new book or a new city or anything that you just think it's that is like totally new. It's like people joke about, it's like, oh man, I'd pay however much money it would take to listen to a certain album or see a certain movie again for the first time. Because I loved it so much, especially in that first time. To where I think people like sell themselves short by like consistency is important. I think that being able to improvise is just as important it's in its own way.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things you keep every single time, like you're doing every single day. And maybe will and realize that it's important for you to do it maybe for the rest of your life, or at least for the foreseeable future. But nonetheless, like I think that it's important to put yourself in situations that again that you're not familiar with.
Yeah, familiar.
Extremely. Extremely.
You are the repetition, and people don't know that. People tend to not acknowledge that. The reason why is because we find joy and glamorous in things like, for example, a vacation, which you have once a year. But every day in the morning, you have 30 minutes of driving to work. That's a repetition. If you do that for a period of time, I would say in the lifespan of, I don't know, someone did a calculation, in the lifespan of like 50 years or something like that, that's like 5% of your life. And you think that doesn't add up till you realize, yeah, that's the repetition. That's who you are. That's who you are. It's not a vacation, because a vacation gives you an idealistic of like some of the things that you want to have in life. And usually at the end of vacation, you come back pretty disappointed because you realize it wasn't that much of a big, it wasn't that big of a deal to the cost of how much money you spent on it,
And how much time you were actually there. So
how much
you were on
time,
vacation for even 2 weeks, which is a long vacation.
Yeah.
2 weeks is a long vacation anywhere. But I mean, if like maybe you go on like in total like a week, maybe another 2 weeks of the year on vacation, we're talking about a month. At that point, everything outside of that, you're working, or you're most likely back in, you're at your home base.
Yes.
To where like that vacation, as big as you put it in your head, at the end of the day, was a small part of your year. Let's just say.
Of that 30-minute driving to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is.
Well, dude, and we know people, and I know like at least with where we work and outside of it as well, where it's like I know people that are driving an hour, 2 hours to work every day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot. That's a lot of time.
Put that into perspective.
A lot of time on the road.
What someone say, like, you sleep 8 hours a day. I think it was 8 hours a day,
right.
And that's about like 10 years of your life or something like that. And I was thinking, wow, so I'm gonna sleep for 10 years of my life or something.
Great.
That's fascinating. But we are the repetition, and the friction usually happens when we try to break away from that repetition. So there's this thing in psychology called the stimulus response cycle, right? Where our presuppositions in terms of how we interact with life has already been recorded in our own mind. So when we do things, we don't do it because we decide to do it. It's because it's already been decided already. Someone told me something powerful and say, make less decision in the morning and you'll feel good about yourself. So instead of waking up in the morning and deciding what to wear, decide it the day before. So that way, the first day of your morning, you don't decide anything, you just do. And it's very important because now you can target your energy towards there's a balance, there's a consistency of balance, and then there's that moment where there's a fluctuation where you need to activate your mind, because now you have to acquire information, acquire knowledge, and make decisions that's gonna impact you in a way that is outside of your comfort zone, outside of the stimulus response cycle. So I think that was interesting that you brought that up.
To capitalize on what you're just saying, I'd like to know, how do you think, what is a way that you prepare for anything that you think that you do well?
That's a great question.
For me, like one thing that I've been doing recently is like, I will pack all my, so I have a couple bags I've gathered over the years. I will pack all my gym bags like on Sunday. And so like throughout the week, I'm quite literally like going through and just picking up my bag and on my way. Which is a bit more of a recent thing I've been doing for the last month or so, like getting back in the gym on a consistent basis.
less decision, less friction, more likely to go to the gym.
It's decided.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it easier in my mornings, like you said, like just or even just like even preparing what I'm gonna wear the next day.
Yeah. Making your day to have less friction, because you need your mind to focus on the frictions that you're gonna have in a day. Like let's say for example at 2 p.m. you have to make a decision that's gonna impact the entirety of your life. You did not know that before you woke up. But if you woke up and make less decisions, you have more energy to make that decisions that's gonna impact the rest of your life at 2 p.m. So one thing that has been working for me, I would say, is basically making less decision. I would say making as much less decision as I can make. And I'm living literally. There's a moment in life you have to live in an autopilot. You have to know like, okay, I need to do this and this and this and this at this particular time, and I have to do that. And there are moments where there's always a constancy of instability, and you don't want to live on. You don't want to live on that side too much. But you also don't want to live too much on autopilot because you become dull. And
Balance.
Yeah, where people want to grow, and there's a desire in us to journey into the abyss, to journey into the far ends of the world, and being able to journey into that, it requires some level of being okay with not being okay and being uncomfortable. It's okay being uncomfortable, putting yourself in a situation where you're not comfortable. But also, people are drawn to that. People are drawn to the vacations because that's the only thing that happened that's different. People are drawn to something that happened. Like, you know, when someone asks you, hey, how was your weekend? You normally, the first thing you think about is like, what's the craziest thing that happened that don't normally happen? You don't think about, oh, I just stayed home and chill. You don't want to tell someone that story because it's dull. You want to tell them about the amazing things that happen. But people don't realize is that you need the balance between the two. You have to make sure that you are living on a routine basis, but you're also living in a moment where you're also living in the moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. That's a great question. Why don't you become a podcaster, bro? You ask me questions. I'm just
What are you
kidding.
talking about, bro? I'm with the one and only right here.
One and only. Harrison, you have anything that you would like to add up for like closing?
Not necessarily. I think if anything else, like just going back to our original conversation that we kind of started this with, and just kind of like the undertone of what we're talking about here as far as relationships, specifically in the space of friends, is that I truly believe that you should not only have one type of friend. I think there's like core values, just like anybody else, as far as like whether it's, you know, in family or in the workplace or just like certain etiquette that you carry. But I do think that although it is important to have people that align with your vision, it's also important to allow yourself to be around people that maybe don't. But it's all up to you and like what you are taking from those situations and relationships.
I like that.
So,
I like that. The best possible outcome is that we all grow together. And that way,
if not,
so be
been a
it.
heck of a time doing it together, right?
But I think with the type of mindset that we have, I can safely say that 5 years from now, or 5 years is too short, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we'll realize that we have grown, and the equivalence to which we are benefiting one another in terms of our relationship will be on an equilibrium footing, similar to now. If any moments where, and this is to everybody who's watching, if any moments where you respect someone so much and you want someone to be in your life so much, it's best to not be selfish to only grow for yourself, but bring them onto that journey of growth. If you see something that you don't like, that you think you need to change, although you guys used to agree, introduce that to them and say, hey, listen, I think there's a better way to do this. What if we strive for this? But at the end of the day, at least then you don't have to feel that you have neglected your friends, but you try to bring them along the way. And I think the best possible outcome is that you want to bring them along the way.
choose to see the best in somebody
Yeah.
and let them react.
Let him react. But Harrison, that was a wonderful podcast. I really, really liked that one.
Always a pleasure.
It was great having you again.
Thank you for having me.